Welcome to Space Oddities and this sun report from the 8th to the 15th of October 2024. And what a week it's been. Here are two images of the sun's face. The side of the sun that is facing Earth. On the left-hand side you have October the 8th and on the right-hand side you have October the 15th. October the 8th is where we left the sun last week. As you can see, there are 9 active regions actually showing on the face of the sun. On the right-hand side, on the 15th, you can only see 7 numbered regions, but there are actually 9, but they haven't numbered them all. One thing that has declined is the sunspot numbers, but over the week we actually saw 75 flares produced. So now we're going to look at our 4 videos. 40 seconds equals a week in these videos. As you just saw on the first one, the red sun, at wavelength 304, you saw the actual flare on the 9th of October that began. And if you look towards the end of this sequence, you will see in the bottom right-hand corner a liftoff of a SCME. You just saw it just there. The next video we're going to see is of the yellow sun. Now this actually shows us the connection between the sunspot regions and the loops of magnetic fields actually connecting these sunspot regions. And you can see that they're moving, they're dynamic. You can see some of them lift off. Again, look to the bottom right and you will actually see that flare again. There it goes again. Now the next video we're going to see is the coronagraph. And if you remember last week we were treated to the appearance of comet Titchison-Atlas, and here it is again, and you're going to see it fly all the way through the frame. But in the meantime, don't forget to look at the sun and look at all the expulsions that have happening on the sun's face, both the near side and the far side. Remember, we've had all those X flares, which we will talk about in a second. As I said, we've had them for 2 weeks. So they'll be been rattling through Earth directed. Now this is the pink sun. This is wavelength 211. Now if you saw at the very beginning again, when that flare went off on the 9th, there's above it there's a black hole. Now that is a coronal hole, and you saw that the actual action of the flare actually increased the size of that coronal hole. And with coronal holes, we get enhanced solar wind, which means that the debris that came off of that flare, which was a 1.8, and it was from AR active region 3848, as being forced towards us because it went off in the center of the disk, is being pushed towards us by the enhanced wind from that coronal hole. So by actually firing off, it increased the size of the coronal hole and it increased its speed towards us. This is the sun in wavelength 131 Armstrongs, and you can again saw the flare go off. Now you'll see all the flares popping off. This gives you an enhanced view of the flares and their intensity. Now this is also known as the blue sun. But again, when you at the very start of this event, you saw the flare go off on the 9th, and again that coronal hole be enhanced. But you can see all the active regions. You can see the way the things broiling away, the magnetic arches. But you can see the flares popping off, mostly on the western side. But you do see a few in the center, and you can see just as we finish, there's one there just on the right side of center, just below the equator. So here are 2 images of that X 1.8 flare from AR 3848 on the 9th of October. Now, if you look on the left-hand side, these are taken 10 minutes apart. You can see the flare going off on the left-hand side, and then 10 minutes later there's another image taken. Now if you look carefully around the edges of the actual sun, you will see there's more fuzziness. It's extending a bit more out into space. That is the actual debris and the material and the shock wave actually leaving that flare. Here again is the pink sun in 211 Armstrongs. Again, you see the flare go off, and look at the coronal hole actually extend. And of course, as I said, this is going to push the matter from that flare towards Earth a lot faster than it would have done before. So again, the action of that flare going off, you can see the reconnection happening as well. All the little arches, which are called as a magnetic arcade, as everything reconnects after the flare, but all that matter has been pushed away and now it is being pushed by that enhanced coronal hole. So what does that mean for us on Earth with that flare pointing towards us and firing a CME towards us? Well, basically, we have to look back again, as I said, 2 weeks, because the week before, from October the 2nd, we've experienced altogether 7 X flares. Now, on the let me just get this right. Two of the flares that happened the week before, one of them was an X9 flare, which is the strongest that has happened in this sunspot cycle, 25, and that was almost immediately preceded before an X7.1 flare. So with all these flares, it's like instead of just being a pistol shooting one shot at you, this is a bit like a machine gun that's hitting us, going bang, 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 bang. And of course, in the meantime, we've got these big X-class flares, which is what we're always looking for. But we've also got the flares that have come prior to those, which are called M-class flares, and again they are firing off towards us from all the active regions. And what happens is they sort of like flow away from the sun. They buffer up to each other. They don't actually merge, but they buffer up to each other. The faster ones will catch up with the slower ones. And what will happen is when they reach Earth, they will hit us one after the other, and they are all individual. And you'll basically be going bang, 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 bang. Now, what this then does is it increases their intensities, and then when it hits our Earth's protection, which is the magnetosphere, the Earth's magnetosphere, which is our magnetic field, which protects us from a lot of the dangerous radiation from the sun, will actually then start to they will make our magnetosphere begin to rattle. It'll ring like a bell. And what will happen is it's then as long as all the criteria are met, we will then see brilliant auroras. Now, of course, as I said, the week before we had them, and we had auroras the weekend before, and the picture you're looking at now is from magnetometers based around the UK. You've got them in Lerwick, uh, Eskandalemuir, and Hartland in the south, covering the UK. Now, these are called the K index. These columns, they're called the K index. And if you look on the right-hand side, you can see they're numbered from 0 to 9. And next to them, you'll see G1 from sort of like 5, you'll see G1, G2, G3, G4. Now, these are the strength of the storms. And as you can see, we had the storms on the weekend before from the 9th, as you can see. Sorry, the 8th there, as you can see. Again, we had some auroras there, and not a lot of people saw them because it was very cloudy over the UK. But then after this flare on the 9th, as you can see, between the 10th and 11th, plus also everything else that had been happening before, remember, all these things are banking up and they're sort of like forming sort of like a load of, it's like a train and they're just coming at you and they're going to hit our Earth and they're going to go bang, 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 bang. Now, everything happened to be right. We had all the right configurations of the magnetic fields. within the storm, within the solar wind. Within, we know what our magnetic field is like. It goes from south to north, and everything lined up. All the ducks lined up, and we had an amazing aurora. And it's like you could see, you probably saw in the local news, in the national news, all these images of the auroras that went off. And as you can see, this happened between the 10th and the 11th. It virtually went on for nearly 24 hours. Since then, it's all died down. But as you can see, at one stage, it actually reached the K9, which is a G5 storm. So we had the most brilliant auroras. Even I was able to capture them. I could see them with the naked eye. I'm in Shropshire in the UK, but I know they were seen as far south as London, because they were taking images. They were bright enough that they could be actually seen in London and photographs taken of them. So this is what this is showing. The big spiky coloured spikes, the purple, the red, the orange, that's all the storm actually hitting us. And it's all these storms that have banked up together and gone bang, 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 and they've hit us and given us fantastic aurora. What you're seeing now is one of my images that was taken on the 9th of the 10th and the 11th. And as you can see, it was so intense. We had virtually all the colors. We've got red there, we've got green, we got purple, there was blue as well. And this shows the actual intensity of the aurora. So virtually all over the country, everybody saw this, and as you can see, it was absolutely stunning. Of course, the image is enhanced by using a digital camera, because the digital camera is far better at the eye of picking out all the colors. But I could still see the red and the slightly purple. The green looked more actually white when I actually looked at it, but when you took a photograph of it, you can see that it was actually green. The corners are cut off because I had a dew filter actually on my lens at the time. But this is what the sort of images that were people taking. I will show you one more image towards the end, but you could actually see the traditional image you see of the aurora with all the curtains, and I will show you one of those a bit later on. But that's what people were seeing, and this is what the result of 2 weeks of flares, CMEs going off on the sun, coming towards us, upsetting our atmosphere, because once the atmosphere starts ringing, it becomes unstable. And it means that the next time a CME comes, or a storm, a geomagnetic storm comes to hit us, our atmosphere is primed for it to produce these auroras. But as I said before, and I'm not going to go into it at the moment, but you need to have all your ducks lined up for all this to happen. So that was just one of my images, and I'm sure you've seen hundreds of images, and some of them were so spectacular. Okay, so where do we stand now? Well, this is a synoptic map, which is basically a drawing of all the action and everything that's appearing on the sun. It's one way of actually seeing everything in one image, because as as you've seen before, we use different wavelengths of light to actually capture different things that are happening on the sun, so we can actually see different things. To see the coronal holes, which are these black um, uh, ponds on the sun's face. We need to use, like I said, the pink sun. We can really see them. You can see the red is the active regions, and you can see them numbered there. As I said, this is from the 14th. So here you can see how the sun sat on the 14th. The dotted lines, of course, separate the dotted neutral lines separate the positive from the negative parts of the sun. You can see the predictability numbers underneath the numbers of the active regions of basically they're the same as these numbers up in the top right hand corner, where you can see C, it says 99, percent chance of CRC class flares. They're the lower, really lower tier, but they said there's going to be 99% chance over the week of this happening. On the M class flares, which I mentioned earlier, which are the ones just below the X class flares, there's a 55% chance we're going to get them. X class flares, they're saying there's a 10% chance we're going to get them, and the P stands for proton storms, which are the big heavy storms which will come towards us. But this is just what you look at every day to see the actual what is on the sun before you then go on to look at look at the different wavelengths to get an indication of what's actually happening and how big these things are. It's just one way of seeing everything in one go. They produce these twice a day, and they're always very handy to for reference of backwards and forwards of where things are at certain times of the day. This is the list of the sunspots that we can see on the disk from the original, from the very first slide. As you can see, they've only got 7 numbered on here. And as you remember, the different colors show you the different magnetic complexity within inside each region itself. The more letters that are inside the red boxes, the more magnetic action is going on inside. And then we've got whether or not they're stable, growing, or declining. So we've got 5 spots which are just sort of like standard. You've got the beta ones at the top, alphas at the bottom, and then you got beta gamma for 3854 and 3852. And these 2 red ones are the ones we're more than likely going to get some more bigger action off of. And if you see 3 letters inside them, you know there's a good chance you're gonna see some really heavy action going on. So, what are we going to expect over the next week? Well, if you remember these images, this is showing the far side of the moon, sun. Sorry, the far side of the sun. And what you're looking at is the orange section is what's happening on the far side of the sun. The grey regions with the coloured, you can see the greens and the yellows and all that. That is the actual sun's side that's facing us. As you can see, the eastern limb is on the right-hand side between the orange and the grey, and the western limb is on the left-hand side. So basically, what is coming, if you look at 3848 on the left-hand side, just coming up to the orange, that is soon going to pass onto the far side of the sun. And then what is coming in the orange region towards the right-hand side is actually going to appear on the sun's face very, very soon. Now, the reason that is that all these dark spots you will see are active regions, and they've also got squares where their regions are showing magnetic activity, but they haven't grown big enough to show as a black spot. Now, one thing you will notice is AR3842 and 3844. They seem to be joining together to form one very big region. So when that finally gets in, probably in about a week's time, to appear on the sun's face, that could be a very active region altogether. It seems to be growing because it's a very big black spot. And we will just have to wait and see what that comes out. There's still the 3842 and the 3844 were this will be their second time round at least, and that was their older numbers. When it appears on the east limb and appears on the face of the sun, they will be designated new numbers. As you can see, the black spot just further over to the right hasn't been numbered yet, but it could grow, it could shrink, it could do anything. But until they actually appear on the face of the sun, we don't really know what they're going to be. But as you can see, that is one big with 3842, 3844. That is one very big active region that eventually will come around and maybe give us some more action. So that's something to look forward to. If you think back to the videos, at the end of each video there was a lift off of that CME, and here it is again. It looks absolutely gorgeous. So I just thought I'd put that in there, something to look at, and look at the all the matter falling back down onto the sun's surface. And as I promised, here is my last image from the auroras on the 10th and the 11th over the night. And as again, you can see we've got red and we've got orange, but you can definitely see the curtains in the actual display itself. And if you take several of these images close together, you can actually stitch them together and form a time lapse, and you will actually see these curtains move. They will swim through the actual image itself. So yeah, it was a lovely display. Just keep your eye out. At any time these X flares can go off. They usually take 3 or 4 days to reach us, depending upon their speed. But if they arrive to us within sort of like 24 or 48 hours, there's a good chance we're going to see some auroras. So I hope you enjoyed this little report on the sun from the 8th to the 15th of October. Now, normally you will see me do these reports on Space Oddities Live on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. British time. So if you want to come and join us, we're always live. We're always talking about space, everything space, even space travel. We do live launches. Come and join us and have a look and see how we get on, and you may find you enjoy our show. So hope to see you again soon. Please take care. Bye.